The following recording is a production of Kickin' Out at 2 in conjunction with the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network and is intended for private use only. For more information, head on over to facebook.com/Kickin' Out at 2 or our Twitter handle @Kickin' Out 2, along with searching Retromania with a W on any and all podcast platforms available to listen to archive shows such as this and all the great content of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network. Evergreen content at your fingertips anytime at your listening pleasure. And with that being said, we thank you for listening and hope you enjoy the show. It's a special Leap Day episode here of Kickin' Out at 2 as we present to you the Dennis J. Levy WildCard Leap Day edition of Kickin' Out at 2. As Dennis has chosen a match of a list that I gave him. I'll share the list, but before we do all that, Dennis, welcome.
Always a pleasure.
It's your format. It's the floor is yours. I gave you a list of matches, and I said, "Have at it. Which one do you want to watch?" And what did you choose?
I chose Liger versus Brian Pillman.
Brian Pillman, Jushin Thunder Liger, light heavyweight championship match from SuperBrawl 2 on February the 29th, 1992, which happened to be a Leap Day, as many of you are aware, or maybe some of you are unaware. A Leap Day happens once every 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
4 years, pretty sure.
Yeah, every 4 years. So this is a Leap Day here in the year 2024. And back in 1992, we had a Leap Day in wrestling with SuperBrawl 2 and the opening match, Jushin Liger, Brian Pillman. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. What I want you all to do is dial up your peacock, if you will, and I'm going to have you fast forward to 6 minutes and 58 seconds. The opening match is going to be Brian Pillman, Jushin Thunder Liger. It goes about 17 minutes or so. So this is a quick little Leap Day, quick little watch along here. Not going to bore you for 2.5 hours as Dennis and I talk about Pillman and Liger and all things nostalgic wrestling. So are you ready, Dennis?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Let's do the damn thing here on Leap Day, if you will. So 6 minutes, 58 seconds in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit play. Make sure I hit play. Yeah, all right. We are rocking and rolling. Opening match, Pillman, Liger. So talk to me a little bit why you like this match so much.
That I always freaking love Brian Pillman. Everyone knows that. That he'll go. We Kickin' Out at 2 loves their Mount Rushmore that list, and I'm telling you right now, the what if of wrestling, Brian Pillman's on that Mount Rushmore definitely, with injuries, mental health. How did he die? Large heart?
Large heart. He had a heart condition, but it was aggravated with, I think, some of his abuse of prescription medication. Yeah.
That Brian Pillman is like, in my opinion, right up there for the what ifs.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think had he not passed away, I think he would have been a prominent figure in the Attitude Era, moving forward. Like, I'm not saying he would have been like up there with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I do. I really do.
Really?
I think he would have been obviously Vince Stone Cold. It's the greatest rivalry of all. Maybe not all the time, but that era that started it.
Mm-hmm.
The JV version or the JV or whatever, but after The Rock, whatever, would have been the Pillman. I really believe that. I think Pillman would have been a
You think he would have been more popular than Mick Foley and DX?
I do. I really do.
Really?
I think it would have gone.
What about
Vince number one?
All right, so let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What about Brian Pillman? That variation of him, the loose cannon, if you will. What about that would have made him so popular during that era?
It's just take that the whole gun incident and all that other stuff, and just like it's just the story itself of like I know like WWE especially doesn't what doesn't happen in WWF WWE never happened at all. But still, everyone knew about the the Hollywood Blondes and and but it's just like they have so much chemistry and just like that we never had it's so sad too. We never had the Pillman Stone Cold match. And if we would have had that, the whole world would have seen like just the chemistry they have and all that other stuff. I just think it would have just been, we have to have it.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think it would have been a fun match. I know Pillman had limitations at the time because of his physical capabilities due to his injuries.
Yeah.
But as a character, I think that there would have been some range. I think he could have been a good ally to Stone Cold. Here's how I look at Brian Pillman. Like a Brian Pillman, Steve Austin association during the Attitude Era, as like Pillman being an ally to him, reminds me of Sam Elliott and Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Yeah, I like
in some ways, you know, their close bond and their close friendship. I could have seen that with Pillman and Austin during that era. Pillman being like an ally to him, and then maybe, you know, McMahon using Pillman as like a guinea pig to get to Austin at times and stuff like that. So I could see. I mean, I think Pillman. I wouldn't say the sky was the limit for him. But had he not passed away, I think he would have been a prominent figure during the Attitude Era. Ironically enough, just more recently, one of Brian Pillman's daughters revealed on social media that she had come to terms on an agreement with WWE to produce Brian Pillman merchandise.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
So, you know, action figures will probably come back. Pillman had a deal a while ago, and they had Pillman action figures, but they stopped licensing because there was no more contractual obligations. But I think now with Brian Pillman Jr., who is known as Lexus King. So you like, all right, so before we get into that, so Brian Pillman you'll see more T-shirts and action figures and things like that, and it wouldn't surprise me if we get a Hall of Fame induction at some point within the next year or so. Who knows? Maybe there will be one at this year's WrestleMania. I mean, they tend to scale down the Hall of Fame now and air it after SmackDown. So I don't know if they want, you know, there's only so many people could go in. So maybe it won't be this year. Maybe it'll be next year. But you mentioned Brian Pillman Jr., a.k.a. Lexus King. What do you think of him so far in NXT? What do you think?
I love him. I actually kind of liked him in AEW until he became too deep into the jobber zone. I for a hot second looked like it was going to be the Hollywood Blondes 2.0 with him and that other dude. And then,
I didn't like that team. I thought he could have been fine on his own.
I thought that was a fun little group. Him and I love her to death.
Julia Hart.
Yeah, Julia Hart.
Griff Garrison.
Yeah, she was the cheerleader and they were the jocks.
I didn't like that.
I thought it was kind of cute.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought he'd have been fine on his own, or they really leaned in if they would have really leaned into his family pedigree.
Yeah,
I think he's doing a great job in NXT. I don't watch a whole lot, but
I want to see him have the title. I really do. It's too soon.
Yeah,
but give him a year. I want to see him have the NXT title.
I think once they move some guys out of NXT and they move them up to the main roster, I think if a Carmelo Hayes goes up, I think if a Braun Breaker goes up to the main roster, as you like to refer to him as Steiner douche, I think Pillman Jr., Lexus King will really break out in NXT, and the next year I think is going to be big for him. Speaking of that, the Lexus King name, what did you think of that? What did you think of how he changed over and abandoned the Pillman name and adopted a persona of his own?
I thought at first it was a huge mistake. But those promos were just so fucking good that and now it's growing. I still don't like the name per se. It just seems a little off, but I love it. I really do. I wish he kind of give him a different name. I don't know, I don't know.
I thought but, I didn't. I was, you know, I think we go back to the Michael McGillicuddy, you know, phase where, you know, Kurt Hennig's son, Joe Hennig, they named him Michael McGillicuddy, and it just didn't work out. You know, everyone wanted him to adopt, you know, Mr. Perfect, and so like to be recognized as the son of Mr. Perfect, and that I think, I wouldn't say failed miserably, but it was not a success. And I think that's what I was afraid of that they were going to do with Pillman Jr. here.
And when he changed his name to Lexus King, but his reasons behind changing his name and forging his own path, I thought was great.
Yeah, perfect.
You know, I don't want to be remembered for this dead guy that, you know, was hardly around in my life. Like, he's really leaning into it. Like, he's really leaning into, you know, because he had somewhat of a troubled life. You know, after his father had passed away, I'd heard many stories of, you know, his mother, who's no longer with us. She passed away recently. She was difficult to deal with, and there was a strained relationship within the family dynamic, and she pretty much kind of blew whatever money she had left from, you know, Brian's estate, which I don't know what kind of finances he saved up, but she pretty much made some poor life choices following, you know, Brian Pillman's passing in 1997, and that caused a strain in the relationship with her children, one of them being Lexus King, Brian Pillman Jr. So, to kind of lean into that family history and to recognize that, I don't want to be remembered for a guy who, I want to make my own path. I don't want to be in the shadow of a guy who was hardly my father.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good, and I've been able to live with the Lexus King name. I've been able to adjust to it. Now, I met Junior once, a couple of years ago at an indie wrestling show. Very nice guy. I told him I watched his father. He was very appreciative. He gave me a signed trading card. I have an autograph in my autograph book. We took a picture together. He was very cool. Saw him wrestle, and at that time, this was 2020, so it was right before COVID. I saw him at an indie show in Connecticut, and I was not impressed with him, his in-ring work. I wasn't. I was like, what makes him so special? Like, we're talking about Flying Brian Jr.,
Yeah.
Flying Brian, who is a legend. Brian Pillman really helped make high-flying wrestling a featured attraction in America. You know, he took a cruiserweight style and really helped spotlight it. What makes this kid so special? And I'll be honest with you, I went to NXT Deadline in December and saw him wrestle Carmelo Hayes, and I thought this was going to be the match of the night. And to me, it didn't click. I just felt like it fell flat. It was not a bad match, but I wasn't blown away like I expected to be with those two. And I think his character work is good. He doesn't blow me away in the ring yet. And maybe that will take time. He's still young. He's only got like 3 or 4 years in the business, maybe 5 years in the industry. Okay? It's not like he's been wrestling for 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
So the jury's still out on him, but I think he's got a ton of potential.
I'm with you.
A ton of potential. This match here, a classic that gets talked about when talking about Brian Pillman matches here. Light heavyweight championship. Kind of an experiment during this era of WCW. This was before the cruiserweight division during Nitro. What did you think of the light heavyweights during this time period in wrestling?
They were definitely, to make a circus analogy, they were definitely not near the center circle per se, but they had their place. And this was like the first that I can think of, maybe because I was only like 11, 12 years old, but this was the first time where it's like you could potentially see, not at a pay-per-view, but at a Sunday Sunday morning shows or whatever, where the little guys were actually getting like some
decent screen time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh wow, look at that Liger with the somersault to the floor onto Pillman. These guys are really tearing it up. Yeah, and we talked about this off air, but it bears mentioning to our listeners. Go out of your way to watch this entire event. Okay, SuperBrawl 2, February 29th, 1992. I did a recap of this a number of years ago. I watched this, and it was actually one of our Blind Date Diaries recap. I watched this back. You can find that in the archives. But this show is stacked. I mean, this match here, Pillman and Liger. Then you have Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham against stunning Steve Austin, and Larry Zbyszko. You have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Ravishing Rick Rude for the United States title. You have the Steiner brothers against Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton for the World Tag Team titles. Sting versus Lex Luger for the World Heavyweight title. This would end up being Lex Luger's last match in WCW before he went to the WWF a few months later. This is an outstanding show. I wouldn't say there's some clunkers on this show, but those are the spotlight matches on this show. I think Kevin Nash as Vinny Vegas tags up with Ricky Morton in a tag team match, which is kind of an odd pairing.
It is an odd pairing.
And I think Terry Taylor's on this show against like a Marcus Bagwell. But overall, this show is a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, there's some filler, but those 5 matches I mentioned, just go watch this show. I think it's a lot of fun. You should definitely check it out. And Pillman and Liger kicking things off on this show definitely set the tone for, and the crowd in Milwaukee was hot for it. They were hot for this show.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of it, but go out of your way to watch it. So you said Cruiserweight Wrestling 92 kind of had its place. Not
That was
as
like the first time you actually got to like doesn't matter, like it was so sad to me like to watch like a wrestler from like 86 or 87 whatever, and you could tell he had like really good talent whatever, but he was just like, you know, the jobber to the stars.
Yep.
This is like the first era that I can think of where like guys who are like 200 to maybe 180 actually getting a chance to get the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, this to the best of my recollection as a kid, because I watched a lot of WCW in 1992 that consistently. This was the first time that I remember seeing a match that required like that they were strict with the weight class, and you know, you had to reach a certain weight to wrestle for this particular championship. So and WCW for me as a kid, especially during this time period, and even maybe a few years prior, this was the first time where I really got to see international wrestlers from like Japan. So Jushin Thunder Liger, Great Muta, like those. That was my first exposure to those guys, and I think that's what, at least for me as a fan, was appealing to watch WCW programming, was that they had those international stars. Yeah. WWF, you had, you know,
Oriental
more,
Express.
Yeah, God, and Killer Khan. I mean, you had like the racial overtones and stereotypes during that era that was more dedicated to spotlighting the stereotype than the athletic ability. Like I looked at the Japanese wrestlers in WCW as athletes. It had like, and especially during the Bill Watts era when he was booking, it had a more like sports, worldly, international feel to it, where they focused on the athleticism. Whereas if you had, like you said, the Orient Express managed by Mr. Fuji, they looked like, you know, they reminded you of, in some ways, like the Foot Clan from the Ninja Turtle movies in the cartoon, where they were the typical like comic book Asian bad guys. Yep. You know, like it was hokey at times. It was treated with a little bit more respect. Oh, nice counter by Pillman.
That was a nice counter.
With Liger here, getting up to the top rope. Is he going to fly? Maybe, maybe not. I'm sure he is. That's why he's called Flying Brian. Oh, look at that. Nice cross body. 1, 2. Kick out. All right. Liger staying in it, giving him his best. Liger, WWE Hall of Famer, okay? Only WWE match that I can recall that he had was against Tyler Breeze at NXT TakeOver.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you rank Liger as in terms of, you know, as a flyer, as a Japanese performer?
Oh, he easily makes the top 10. That for greatest light I was gonna say light heavyweight. Whatever.
Oh, it is light heavyweight.
Cruiserweight. Isn't that kind of like oxymoron? That's why I never liked that terminology. You're a light, but yet you're a heavyweight as well. I never liked that terminology.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, cruiserweight. If you will.
Flyweight, they sometimes have called him. Why do you think Liger never had a significant run in the WWF?
Well,
WWE?
His prime years, at least in America, in my opinion, he was ECW. So
yeah,
that's my theory that he had his ECW contract.
Okay.
Oh, he has some bangers too.
Yeah, he did have some fun matches in ECW. I do remember hearing about those. There's a really fun match he had that I don't think gets talked about enough against Rey Mysterio at Starrcade 1996. I think it was like the opening match of that show. A really fun match. This was Rey Mysterio's first match. It was, to the best of my recollection, this was the first year Rey Mysterio was in WCW.
Yeah.
So he was getting spotlighted pretty well, and to go up against Liger, that's something you should definitely check out, Starrcade 96. I would have liked to have seen Liger in the WWE. Maybe have a little more than a one-off in NXT. Maybe kind of do like a farewell kind of tour in NXT.
Yeah,
but Nakamura.
Taka Mitsunuko.
That's another thing too. Like
Yeah.
I thought for sure that he might have been like a good addition to the WWF light heavyweight division in the 90s. But he was a company guy in terms of, I think we got the finish here. Pillman with this little neat roll up, and we got 1, 2, 3, and that's the end of it here.
that was not 3.
Yeah, that was.
No, I'm just saying that was. But
look at that crowd on their feet. These two really smashed it.
Yeah.
And killed it.
Miss you, buddy.
Yeah, and the potential, the what ifs. You're right. He's definitely a big what if in wrestling history. They show the sportsmanship here. I really dig this match. I'm glad you picked this one. We got to watch it and talk a little bit about Jushin Liger and Brian Pillman. See the replay here. Pretty much the highlight reel of their match with all the big high spots. I mean, the whole match was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pillman coming off the top here. Crossbody out to the floor. Slow motion.
I'm watching the ref when Brian Pillman was on the top rope count. Do they even do that anymore?
I think they still do that.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong. They're starting to bring some rules back.
I'm actually glad to hear that.
Yeah. But I think these two would have another couple of matches on television, but I don't.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention this. How could I forget? These guys were the opening match on the very first Nitro.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that. Yeah. Wow. I'm an idiot. All right. Well, that's going to do it here for this little short, quick banger of an episode of Kicking Out at 2. Dennis's Leap Day WildCard watch party. Next time, Dennis, we're gonna talk WrestleMania. We're gonna get into the WrestleMania. WrestleMania build. Give me some ideas for the next WrestleMania wild card that you want to do. What are you thinking for a match?
So we done. I'll do my favorite one to this day. With that when we did the
Randy Savage and
No,
Ultimate
that was
Warrior.
one. No, but the Mount Rushmore opening matches. Doing my homework. That's my favorite homework assignment yet. That
was a fun one.
Watching all those opening matches. I had a terrific time. But anyway, I kind of want to kind of have a theme like that. If we could.
Okay.
I don't know, Mount Rushmore Intercontinental Champion matches or something.
Okay,
Or,
we could figure out something like that. Yeah,
but to this day, and maybe that's an over exaggeration when I say my favorite podcast. But my favorite doing preparation was for the Mount Rushmore
of the opening matches in WrestleMania.
I loved.
Go check that out.
Yeah.
If you're listening out there. Dennis and I did that, and we actually did a little mini watch along afterwards as we watched one of our favorite opening WrestleMania matches with the Rockers against the Heenan family from WrestleMania 7.
I love that.
That was a lot of fun. So you know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll come up with an idea. Maybe we'll you said it earlier that Kicking Out at 2 loves their Mount Rushmores. Maybe we'll do like a mega-sized WrestleMania Mount Rushmore.
I'm not hating that.
So this is going to be your wild card choice. This is what you want to do. Okay, done deal. I'll set it up. We'll make it happen next time. All right? Deal?
Deal.
All right, let's do it. And again, thank you all for press and play, hitting download, joining us for this Leap Day wild card. Dennis J. Levy, watch along here on Kicking Out at 2. And I think it's about that time that we leap towards the mat and put this one down for the 3 count, and we'll see you all next time.